Hi everyone, my name is Micah McLean and I'm the creator of Micah McLean Talks. Today I'm with one of my sponsors, Nathaniel McLean, who has a brand called Journal My Journey. So Nathaniel, please tell us a bit about your brand.
So Journal My Journey, so as you can see, we've got Journal My Journey here, we've got two just behind me. So what Journal My Journey is, it is more than just a business. It is a movement to help men's mental health. As you may know, a lot of men don't talk. And we are trying to change that. The suicide rate for men is really, really high. So what we're trying to do is take the first step to get men to journal and write down how they feel. A lot of men at the moment are struggling to sleep. So with that, if you write down your thoughts, write down what's on your mind, it will really help and improve your sleep. So at the moment, we are online. We sell journals at www.journalmyjourney.co.uk.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
No problem.
We had to work out how can we move forward and always have a consolidated approach. No different to parenting. You know, the kids will try to work one parent off the other. You just want to make sure that there's no crack. And how we did that is that we had a system, as an example, one of the systems were we had what we called compromise points.
So good afternoon, Rob Pierre. Thank you so much for coming onto the platform.
Great to be here.
You are the founder and former Chief Executive of Jellyfish, so thank you so much for coming on.
It's a pleasure.
So you were born in Trinidad and you later migrated to the UK at the age of 11.
Well, I was born in the UK, lived here till I was 4 years old, went to Trinidad until the age of 14, and then came back to the UK.
That's incredible. And even during your childhood, you've gone through so much. And during all of this, when did you decide to start a company?
Well, it kind of organically happened. You know, as you say, we had some family trauma when I was young. My parents split and I came over to the UK with my mum, went straight into a state school in Surrey, didn't really know what I wanted to do initially, but then found that I had a sort of reasonable balance between the left brain and the right brain, so was very interested in computing, but also had that creative side. So I was looking to do a computer studies degree with IBM, and did all the application, got accepted on the course, but unfortunately I failed physics. And so then I just took some time out to consolidate my thoughts and think I didn't really have a plan B. And that's when I went into retail. And so I never thought I was going to start a business, but I kind of learned business through retail, because you give young people such a lot of responsibility and accountability. And I found creative ways to sell and to merchandise the store and to motivate people. And I suppose that was the journey. It wasn't a conscious thing to be an entrepreneur or to start a business.
And one thing that's incredible about your story is Sunglasses Hut. So you were one of the top, stores in Sunglasses Hut. So tell us a bit about that.
So what ended up happening is that I started in Gatwick Airport. Then I progressed to be an assistant manager. Then I went out to Tunbridge Wells to run a smaller store. But then I came back to the departure lounge in Gatwick Airport and started running this store, which wasn't on the radar. And we started finding ways to exploit the different demographics that were coming through the departure lounge. We found ways to motivate all of the team to sell. We had such high concentrated times of very busy periods that we had to maximize. And we found innovative ways to do that. So I would say it was a journey of iteration. We were testing, analyzing, refining the way that we worked. And eventually what ended up happening is that a store that was not on the global radar at all, we got it to the #1 turnover store in the world. And there were like 2,200 stores. And so as we grew, in actual fact, they had a bonus scheme for managers of stores that they had to change because they didn't expect a store with the volume of sales that we've got to grow at the rate that we were growing. And I can tell 100 stories about how we did that. But ultimately, once we did that, it got on the radar of the senior leadership in Miami. They flew me over to talk about what were we doing. And I was able to tell the story and then started getting promoted over time. And by the time I was like 28 years old, I was leading the European operations for Sunglass Hut.
That's incredible. And even following on from that, you then started your own business called Jellyfish with your business partner, Paul Walsh.
Yeah.
At what stage did you think, okay, I'm going to leave working in retail, start my own digital marketing company? And how did you identify you had a real skill set in being an entrepreneur?
So there was a little transition. So we went from Sunglass Hut. I worked for an entrepreneur who had a mobile phone accessory chain of stores, a mobile phone accessory manufacturing business, and also a motorcycle accessory manufacturing business. So I worked for him for 3 years. And that's when I kind of learnt the less corporate side of doing business. I mean, he admits himself that he was a market trader at heart, but he was a multi-million market trader. And so I learnt a lot about business with him as well, and learnt to have the autonomy and the accountability to run his divisions. And so that was the transition. It was only until I got to around 30 years old and I was going on stag do's and weddings, and I kept bumping into Paul Walsh. And he had a boutique IT consultancy that started to look at digital marketing as an opportunity. And he was very commercial. He was technical and commercial. So again, a nice blend of capabilities. And I just kept talking to him. And that was the trigger. Because at that time, I was doing okay. The entrepreneur that I worked for, Martin Mansbridge, he looked after me. I was driving a Porsche 911, going on holidays all over Europe and wearing nice clothes. So clearly demonstrating success. Paul was looking at that, thinking I've got a history of running bigger organizations, account management, sales, etc. So we started talking about the opportunity, and that's how it ended up happening. It was a train journey up to London to one of these stag do's. And by the end of that train journey, I said to him, all right, let's do it. And he convinced me to leave where I was and to join him to create a digital marketing proposition. So we sold off all the IT network support clients, consolidated down to a team, and then rebranded as Jellyfish, and started in this little town in Surrey, Reigate. And and who knew that was going to be the start of such an immense journey.
And even following on from that, how important is it to have a business partner? What do they bring, and what are some of the challenges anyone has when they're working with a business partner?
Well, I think technically you can treat everybody that ends up working with you as business partners. I think thinking that you have to have a fellow shareholder might be constraining. I think it is important. I think everybody should feel that they're part of the journey, that they believe in the vision and the mission that you're on, and you distribute the accountability, and everybody should feel part of that. I think it's important to feel like you have people around you that are aligned and have the same vested interest in the success. I think it's important to have people around you where you can identify their attributes, their skills, their superpowers, and that you can stand back to back with them, knowing that as a collective, you are so much more powerful. And that sort of changes the mindset that everyone will have around you. It's like a marriage. So, when we went on this journey together, he was a very competent, smart, strong-minded person. And so we had to work out how can we move forward and always have a consolidated approach. No different to parenting. The kids will try to work one parent off the other. You just want to make sure that there's no crack. And how we did that is that we had a system. As an example, one of the systems we had what we called compromise points. So if we both if we knew the outcome we were looking for and we both had a different approach, we would actually have to decide who's most qualified or who's most passionate, who really cares the most about the direction of travel. Mm-hmm. We will go with that. So I would just say, okay, I'll take a compromise point. We'll do it your way. Mm-hmm. That actually ended up being the easy way to do things. That was the easy bit. The hard bit was if you take a compromise point and say, you know what? I don't care as much as you. Let's do it your way. You can never say I told you so if it doesn't work out to plan. You go wholeheartedly, fully into that direction of travel, and you support the other in that initiative until you see it through to fruition. And so we came up with this system that we made sure it wasn't us against each other. So even for an opportunity or a problem, we always said, it's both of us against the problem. Because what happens with a partnership is that if you're not careful, you start debating a point just to be right. You want it to be my way, and you forget that you're both trying to get the right result, or exploit the opportunity or overcome the challenge. And so constantly coming back to that. So if you could get those principles right, having people around you, partnerships, whatever the team, I think is immensely important, and it's good for your mental well-being. It's good for your distribution of skills. It's good for your the time that you're able to apply, and it also means you avoid that scenario where, like a parent, you think you know everything and you're right about everything. You just make sure that you've got the right skills around you. So yeah, I think it was a very positive part of the journey.
That's really interesting what you're saying. And another thing about business is that technology has advanced so much. So what resources would you have utilized now that weren't available when you started Jellyfish?
Oh, it's so hard to say because everything's been so organic. I would say it's nothing like AI, etc. I think most of the technologies or the platforms that we've been using have just slowly evolved with us. So I don't think it'll be anything brand new. It's just everything's got better, And well, as you imagine, the first time you downloaded the Facebook app, it looks nothing like it is today. It just iterates and provides what's required based on the technology or the environment or the economy or whatever's available. So nothing comes to mind that I would suddenly start using. But I would definitely advise people to think every single step of the way, how can you optimize what you're doing and leverage the technology and the platforms around you? Because in our journey, we systemized everything that we did. So it was about methodology, technology, and human capabilities coming together to deliver the most efficient and scalable way to provide the best service to our clients. So yeah, we did that a lot, and that meant we kept questioning and challenging the way in which we did things to continue to evolve.
Thank you so much. And even following on from that, one thing that I'd like to focus also upon is that you have lived in different countries. So what is your opinion on the government's current approach to immigration?
There's a thing called the Dunning-Kruger impact, which is where you're more confident about a subject you know less about. And I'm very careful not to suffer from the Dunning-Kruger impact, which is I just don't know enough. I've only got my own personal experience, and having the fact that I was born in the UK, obviously I had a British passport, it probably changed my experience. I just don't know enough to have an opinion, and I think that if it was something that either I was in politics or I was involved in that environment or I needed to affect change, I'll probably know more to answer that. I don't know. I just think that it's a very challenging balance to make sure that we've got the infrastructure and we can support people, and making sure that if the floodgates are open as well. You just got to get the balance. And I think that I'm obviously very grateful the fact that I've been able to contribute to the UK economy and society, and that is a real privilege. And I think that it shouldn't just be my privilege. It should be equitable, and most people should be able to benefit from the infrastructure if they are contributing and adding value to the ecosystem. That's about the best answer I can give to your question.
I think it's a powerful answer too. Just even talking about, making everything equitable for everyone that wants to contribute. And that actually flows nicely into my next question. So you've been listed on the Power List 2022 and 2023. And for members of my audience that don't know what that is, that's a list of the most influential black people in the UK. What advice would you give to young black people that would like to start a business, and particularly thriving in today's current climate?
The first thing is, I don't think I've got any specific advice for the black community. And I think that comes a little bit from the fact that I don't believe I've suffered any level of discrimination. So again, I can only talk on my personal experiences. And I've spoken to many people about this subject. My advice is always take on things that you could have full autonomy and accountability to deliver. You don't have to start big. And the most important thing is to be able to deliver outcomes. I've said in the past, everybody at Jellyfish, in this order, you got to show up. And that takes discipline, it takes dedication, it takes ambition, perseverance. Show up, then you will have output. And with output, you get outcomes. And you will always be measured on your outcomes. But what you've got to do is ensure that whether it's in a career or starting a business, make sure that it's contained and that you have a clear vision on what that outcome is going to be, and then you deliver. And you take full accountability for delivering those outcomes. And then slowly but surely, in almost like a modular way, you either in your career end up with more responsibility and accountability because you've got a breadcrumb trail of achieving the outcomes that you said you would achieve. And so not only do you grow in confidence, but the people around you grow in confidence that you're able to deliver on your promise. You do that either yourself in a business or you do it in your careers. That's what I would say to any young person. And so if you could understand if there's a market, there's often a gap in the market, but there's no market in that gap. You've got to make sure that you're adding value to the ecosystem. It's an appropriate opportunity for your skills and capabilities and your network, that you've found the right support, and then just build upon it. Stay niche if you have to. Go as granular as you need to be the best. Don't worry about the big picture until you organically grow, and I think a bit of patience. So with that, if you're going to say to somebody you've got to be patient, my other advice is more is lost from indecision than wrong decisions. Get in there, get started, keep it contained, give yourself the best chance of success.
Thank you. And Jellyfish is a leader within digital marketing, and to become a leader, it's important to have the right people. So what was Jellyfish's approach to recruiting the right resources and getting the right talent to become the powerhouse it is today?
Well, the first thing was sorting out the environment. So making sure that we had an environment that was genuinely equitable, that genuinely valued people, that we redesigned the way in which people were promoted. We redesigned how leadership worked. We didn't have heads of. We had steering groups where you can actually enter that steering group and have accountability and get exposure. It was very transparent so that people had the knowledge, because most corporate environments, the issue is knowledge is power. And if knowledge is power, then you're not incentivized to share, because then that dilutes your power. So that if you're not transparent and you're privy to information that others aren't, people perceive that as seniority and gives them a competitive advantage from a career perspective. That's not what we were doing. So it's about empowering people, distributing accountability, making sure that you have steering groups running each of the functions so that you can have a group. And therefore, when we were recruiting, we can tell people that you've got the best chance of success. You haven't got a boss, somebody that's going to suppress your potential growth. You've got a support network. You choose what initiatives that you take accountability for based on your skills. You deliver. You then can put a business case forward to then get promoted if you have achieved tangible outcomes. Your support network is there to help. And the way in which you really make it equitable is you go head on and try and address the unconscious bias that's happening in a lot of organizations. So we anonymized the business case. So there was a panel, and they basically every quarter, and they would look at the business cases, and they didn't know who the individual was. So you can't even, because, I mean, the clue's in the name, right? Unconscious bias. How do you train somebody on something that's unconscious? So we have to try and make sure that systemically we change the way in which it works. And so that's what we did. We didn't do anything specific. We made sure that our delegate pools are diverse, that we didn't just go for lookalike audiences. We didn't go for things like I'll give you a great example. I was speaking to somebody in Reigate Grammar. You can imagine a demographic of the parents there, and I'm speaking to one of the parents, and he said, oh yeah, when I'm recruiting, I look out for like the Duke of Edinburgh award. If they got the Duke of Edinburgh like silver or gold, I think that shows discipline and a broad spectrum of skills, etc. And I just said to him, yeah, but look, you're basically keeping the pool to potentially just private school people, because the places where they're likely to have done that scheme is making sure that you're narrowing down the diversity of the pool of delegates that you're even interviewing in the first place. So I would say making sure that you make the opportunities accessible. Make sure that you're not just looking for experience, you're looking for skills, you're looking for attributes, you're looking for ambition, values. That's how we used to interview, because the whole point is that it's self-perpetuating, isn't it? If somebody doesn't have the opportunity, they're not going to have the experience. If they don't have the experience, if they don't get the role, you're stuck in that catch-22. You're in that cycle of you're never going to get the opportunity. I don't even like job descriptions as a rule, because in my mind, a job description is a list of things that you're expected to do, but it creates an infinite list of things you don't have to do. What I would like to do is match capabilities and skills, knowledge, experience, and all of those things. I would like to, whatever blend, even if it's just raw talent, I would like to match that to the initiatives, to the goals and outcomes we're looking for. And that's the way forward, and let them gain that experience and track record within the organization, give them the support needed. That's the only way you could really end up with an equitable environment.
I find that really interesting, actually, because a lot of workplaces do have job descriptions, and a lot of employees actually do a lot of things outside of their job descriptions.
Right.
So it's very interesting that you've said that, because I think that Jellyfish's model is very good, because you're matching capabilities, so you're creating an environment where people can thrive. Right. So that's really, really interesting that you've actually said that.
And we see it. We see it every day. People that have never been given the chance, or don't even know exactly where they're going to go with their career. It allows you to sort of navigate the system and find initiatives that suit you, or where you feel you're really making progress and gaining those or achieving those outcomes that you set out for. And it works really well. And we've seen people, the attrition was very low for a long period of time, because you were able to progress in an area that you felt comfortable in, that there was a fair value exchange with the organization.
Thank you. And even following on from that, recently Jellyfish was bought by the Brandtech Group. Mm-hmm. How hard was it to leave a company that you started in about over 15 years ago now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's nearly 19. Yeah, 2005. It's very strange. I mean, it's the same year my daughter was born as well. I spent every day reimagining what Ria's capable of. You know, every day she grows, she's more knowledgeable, she's more experienced. She's, I said she could cure cancer, she could be the Prime Minister, she could be an astronaut. Who knows what she's going to be. The same was happening with Jellyfish. Every day, every new client, every new skilled person that joins, every new achievement, every partner that we that we collaborated with just meant that I could reimagine what it was capable of. But also, it would be like keeping Ria at home. You know, she's going to go off to university. You've instilled the values. You've made her into the adult that she is, to then go on into the world and have an impact. It felt a bit like that with Jellyfish. You know, there comes a time when it's an adult. It's now part of the Brandtech Group. They've got really great ambitions. And I just felt, and this is what I said to the organization when I said my goodbyes, is that the analogy was, I was like the boosters on the rocket ship or the shuttle. Yeah. I mean, they drop off, but that's not to say that the shuttle then doesn't go on to orbit and achieve all of the goals, etc. So it was tough. But I feel a bit like Lennox Lewis. You know, I feel like I left the game at the top, and everybody might ask, you know, what? But it's unequivocal that at the time it was if not the largest independent agency sale in the UK. Our reputation was second to none. The people, the clients, what we delivered. I'm very proud, and it's just the timing was right. But it's a bittersweet moment, really.
I definitely can imagine that. When I was speaking to some of my family members and I said I'm interviewing the CEO of Jellyfish, they were all like, we've heard of Jellyfish.
That's amazing.
And it's just incredible how you built a company in such a small period of time, and it's just had such a global impact.
Well, it's mainly because it's a B2B, it's not even a consumer brand. So, every time somebody that I don't know says that they know, and it's got that level of brand equity that they know Jellyfish, that's a very proud moment.
And another question I'd like to ask is that what do you feel were some of your greatest achievements during your time as Chief Executive of Jellyfish, and a few things you wish you had done better?
I mean, wish I'd done better. The problem is we were constantly evolving. So it's difficult to say when was the moment you thought you should have done it better, because every single day you're thinking we should be doing this better. So that's every day. What the things? Nearly everything I did, I think I should do better. That's just the way it is. And if you have that attitude that you're constantly evolving and challenging where you're at, you will continuously improve. So there's never a specific moment that I think, oh, we could have done that better. The proud things is, changing the way in which we worked and actually having a system that put people first, having a system where it was a meritocracy, allowing people to thrive. Other things that I'm very proud of is that, there was a lot of wealth creation across the entire team as well. I'm very proud of the lack of attrition in the organization. I think the reputation, the integrity of delivering on your promise, I think is really important. I think there's a lot of businesses where if you forget what you set out to do, that you start to focus on the wrong things. But I think we absolutely were on the case of providing the best level of exemplary level of service and outcomes and delivery for our clients. And I think we did a lot of those things, but it was organic and it was iterative. It was nowhere is there this magic moment where I think I can call upon, to be honest.
Thank you. And even thinking about what's in the press recently is there's a lot of chief executives that don't believe in the concept of a work-life balance. So for example, Elon Musk famously said that he doesn't believe in a work-life balance. He just believes you just like work. As a chief executive, do you have a work-life balance, or is it like go because you're constantly competing with other businesses?
Well, for me particularly, I never even bought into the phrase work-life balance. I just think it's a life balance. There are a ton of things that in my personal life I'd rather not do. There's so many things in work I love doing. So, if I could do all the things I love on both sides, that's a great life balance, So that's what I try to do. And so work never felt like work. And I think it's very cliche to say, if you're passionate about what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I think it is true. But also, I think it's motivation versus discipline that every one of us are fighting every day that we live. Is that you don't need discipline to do something you're totally motivated to do. Yeah. You jump out of bed, you do it, you love it. And there are some things you have to do that are necessary that you're not motivated or enjoy doing. That's when you need to instill discipline. And so for me, exercising, I still got a personal trainer virtually and I do it 3 times a week. I don't want to wake up at 7:30 and train for an hour. That is pure discipline that I've put the measures in place to make sure that I do it. And so somebody would say, well, that's your personal life, your health and training. So that's a good work-life balance. Well, to be honest, I'd much rather be doing this podcast with you, or I'd rather be in a meeting or selling to a client or traveling to an expo. Yeah. So I don't really know. I just think that people should consider a life balance. Make sure that they adhering to the things that are important, have discipline where you need to have it, but make sure that where possible, you're doing things that you're motivated and passionate to do. And therefore, you're going to your well-being, your enthusiasm, your health, everything is going to be much better if you get just the right life balance.
Thank you for that. And following leaving Jellyfish, what will be your key areas of interest now? What will you be investing in? What ventures will you be doing?
So I've just invested in an insurance company for young drivers. And I'm excited about that simply because there's so much that we could do to communicate with the next cohort coming through. All the 16-year-olds every year that are going to need insurance. I think that there's a lot of data that's collected with the telematic boxes that we can utilize. There's gamification of passing your test. And so I'm very excited about that. And it's a young entrepreneur who's doing a fantastic job. And I think around expansion, global expansion, and the marketing strategy, I think I could add some value. So it's an advisory stroke investment. There's another one, which is a furniture aggregate site, which is basically got 250 retailers where it brings together all of the furniture so that you can find and refine your searches. No different to like Rightmove or most of the comparison sites, but that I'm quite excited about as well. There's another couple that I can't discuss, but most of them are scalable businesses that are established, that are now at the point where they're looking for either a digital marketing or global expansion strategy, and so I'll be getting involved with those. I'm getting a few non-exec approaches for very large companies who are looking for a digital media and expansion strategy. Also, I think that boards that could do with a bit of diversity. So I think I'm in a privileged position where, having sold the business, having the reputation that we had, and understanding digital and having all of the partnerships with the big platforms, etc. I think that, there's a couple that I'm exploring right now. So watch this space, really.
And on the point of investment, if you were a dragon on Dragon's Den, how would you get buddy and entrepreneurs to take investment from you?
Great question. I think it would be all around the passion. I think that I would only get involved. It's because I'm all about the purpose that you set out for. And I would be describing the outcome that I would be looking for in any company that I invest in. And that is that, you really consider the people, you consider the sustainability, you consider the equitable nature in which you work. I would also say that I would only invest in things that I believe in and passionate about. So what you would have is somebody that, again, isn't trying to find time to spend and to support the cause. Because I'm so passionate about it, I'm motivated to do it. So it will find time in my life balance. And that's the best way in which I could describe it. It's not just obviously about the money. It's about matching people who, like I said right at the beginning, is passionate about the mission and the vision and the outcomes that you're trying to achieve as an entrepreneur. So that would be what I would say. And I don't think we'd get very far in the conversation if I wasn't passionate. And then if I am passionate, historically, I've managed to be pretty persuasive. So, let's that would be my answer.
And on the topic of passion, you're a co-owner, not even an investor, of Inside Out Clothing.
Yeah.
So please just tell my audience about what Inside Out Clothing is and the overall mission of the initiative.
So the Inside Out Clothing project is basically a clothing brand for ex-offenders. So they basically, were in prison, they can sort of create the designs, they're trained, they learn how to screen print, etc. We give them life skills when they come out of prison. They're on a 6-week program. We'll teach them how to set up their LinkedIn profile. We would help them if they wanted to start a business. We would help them with retail training, and they can come out and they can work in one of our store locations. We had a pop-up in Westfield, Stratford, for a 5-month period. We are hoping to get a unit in Oxford Street in London. And what ends up happening is that you can design the clothing, hoodies, caps, t-shirts, etc. Then you come and work in the store. and then you have a rack with your designs, and you're able to work in that store and sell those designs. And we don't know where it's going to expand to, but at the moment, that's the hub, is the clothing element of it. There's an online store as well, and it was founded. It was a passion project for Greg McKenzie, a BBC journalist, and we trained one of the classes at Jellyfish, and I met the young individuals completely inspired by their enthusiasm and the fact that they wanted to contribute. They just want to be given a chance. And then I met Greg and just fell in love with the project. And so I ended up funding it so that Greg could concentrate on it full time. And we've got the delegates. In fact, recently I was at Chelmsford in the prison doing a workshop with the delegates who are interested in joining the program, and it's just so fulfilling. Many people say to me, there are so many innocent people out there. Why would you put your attention to criminals, people who have committed offences? And I just, if you say that to me, then you clearly don't understand the motives behind it, and that we cannot judge anyone if you haven't walked every step in their shoes and you're in their circumstances. And I think we all sit from a privileged position and cast judgment. And I think that is the opposite of creating equitable environments, because you're not addressing the fact that people aren't starting from the same place. And so, this is just my chance. If there's so many people supporting others, then there's so few people supporting people in those situations who have either made decisions or don't even feel they had a decision to make and have ended up in these circumstances, then that's where I can dedicate some time and support. So that's where the project is. Hopefully we will have our unit in Oxford Street, and we'll be working on a range that we can actually get out to a few of the high profile people. I want people to be seen in the clothing, and start a strategy to get as much funding as possible for that project.
Thank you so much for that. And even focusing upon Inside Out, why did you decide to get involved in philanthropy at this stage in your career?
Well, I suppose I always have. Mm-hmm. There are a number of businesses that I have supported for the person or for the cause. This is not new. And don't get me wrong, I've got a very specific philosophy about generosity. And I think that until you actually sacrifice something to give, it's not yet generous. Yeah. So I'm not expecting anybody to be impressed by the fact that I've done a lot of this over time, but I've had the means and I've been able to do it. And to be honest, I would go as far as to say I've got a restaurant in London on Pudding Lane called MBER, and that feels like a charity. That feels philanthropic, because it just seems like I'm offering a public service and it makes no money. But the team there are looked after, and it's got a great reputation, very highly rated, etc. But I've done other businesses like that, where it's just all about the people. It's all about providing a service and a quality of delivery. And this is just an extension of that. And as my means become bigger and more far-reaching, I'm able to have more impact and able to help more. So it's just a natural evolution of what I've been doing over the last 18 years anyway.
And it's just incredible when I look at your life and all of the places that you featured, from Channel 4 to the Times. If you look forward in your life 30 years from now, what would you want your legacy to be for the next generation that's coming up?
Yeah, that the workplace is different, that people are fairly remunerated, that everybody, no matter what your background, no matter what your circumstances, that you have a chance if you have the ambition, the discipline, the motivation, and whatever you find is your skill and your superpower and your attributes, and that you're able to succeed and that you're given a fair chance, and that the workplace is a much better, fair meritocracy. If we could achieve that, then I think that would be a great legacy. I mean, and that's a big thing. I mean, I can't possibly be personally responsible for doing that, but I could play my small part in it, and I can make sure that either where we invest in businesses or we use what we achieved at Jellyfish as a use case and we continue to build those things, then that I think will be a great legacy. Of course, I want my kids to add value to the world and to contribute. But yeah, I would say that's my biggest hope.
And the last question I'd like to ask you is, please tell us about any other ventures you'll be working on in the next 2 years, if you can tell me. If you can't, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's always risky in the public domain to talk about things that may or may not happen. But all I can say to you is that I will continue to look for opportunities. I'm already a founding member of Impact X, which is Eric Collins' fund, which is supporting underrepresented groups. Getting more involved in that and making sure that we can make sure that money is accessible to, again, create that equitable environment and to give everybody a fair chance. So there's probably going to be a few things around that you will see in the future. And I'm already involved, but looking at the sort of property buying marketplace and the automation and the efficiency of buying a property, using technology and methodology and systemizing it. So there's a little bit around that. But again, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say watch this space.
It's been a real honor to have you on the platform, Rob. Thank you so much for being such a great guest. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.